All right, so this video is going to be kind of a general introduction to commercial painting, and the first couple things I'll say about commercial painting is that there's huge opportunities in commercial painting, and people get really excited about commercial painting. And I think a lot of times people get blinded by commercial painting. They get blinded by the job size. They get blinded by how cool would it be to paint this apartment complex for 150 grand or for 75 grand, or paint this big office building for $50,000. And you get blinded by those dollar signs. And the thing that you want to be aware of is that the bigger the job, the bigger you can fall. The bigger the job, the bigger the risk. All right, so if we're doing a $4,000 job on a residential house and it totally goes absolutely to crap, and we pay our sub $2,000 and then we don't get paid at all from the customer, we basically lose $2,000 on that job. We get $2,000 gone. But that means we have to book one house, and we can paint one house in 1 week, and we can make that $2,000 back in 1 week. So it's not that big of a fall if you screw up on a residential job. But when you screw up on a commercial job, it can take you 3 months, and you can not make money, or you can lose money, and the stakes are bigger. All right, so there's so much more room to screw up and get in trouble on commercial jobs. So I just want to caution you, because I've seen people get right into this business and want to go right after commercial jobs. And unless you have experience in the construction arena and you understand how it works and you know what you're doing, be careful. All right, because I've seen people just totally go out of business or get totally screwed or underbid a job, or there's so many things that can go wrong on commercial painting, and when they go wrong, the costs are bigger. So having said that, here's some things to look out for. So the first thing I would say to look out for is just the scope of work. With residential painting, all jobs are pretty similar. Every exterior is pretty much the same. Even the ones that are very different are still pretty much the same. Same prep work, same materials, body, trim, doors. Right? It's pretty simple. But when you get into commercial painting, there's different, there's metal, there's dry fall ceilings, there's other trades to be working around, there's different products that you're going to be using, there's different surfaces that you're going to be painting onto, which require different products. Every commercial job is different in its scope. And when we talk about commercial jobs, we're looking at, there's new construction stuff, new construction, there's remodels. There's offices and businesses or buildings, and then apartments or condos, townhomes, multifamily, that kind of stuff. But these are kind of a quick overview, and that'll be valuable as we get into some other parts. So scope of work is going to be a lot more important looking at these types of things. New construction, remodels, or even office buildings, or department stores. One of the jobs that we ran into a lot of trouble on was just repainting the exterior of a department store, where there was just some scope of work that we kind of looked past. We thought it wasn't a big deal, and it ended up being a really big deal, and it was a total nightmare, and it took us 3 months, and it took us a ton of time, and we didn't make a dime on the job, and that happened on it was over $100,000 in revenue that we expected to bring in 20 to 30 grand in profit, and instead we brought in zero. It took us twice as long, and it took a ton of our time away. So you want to be really, really clear on the scope of work, understanding the blueprints, understanding what's required and what's expected. You want to be really clear about the payment terms. When are you going to get paid? Are you getting a deposit? Are you getting paid upon completion? How much? How much are they going to hold? For how long? You want to know, because every commercial contract is going to be a little bit different. Sometimes you're able to get a deposit up front. Other times you're not. Sometimes they'll pay you right when the job is done. Other times they'll pay you within 30 days. And even if they say they'll pay within 30 days, it doesn't mean they will pay you within 30 days. We've waited 7 months to get paid before. And that was because that company didn't know what the hell they were doing. To the point that the company that hired the general contractor, that company seized the books of the general contractors so they could cut the checks out, because none of the subcontractors were getting paid. Painters, electricians, roofing, nobody was getting paid, because the GC didn't know who they had paid and how much they had paid them, so they were scared to issue any other checks, and it was a mess. So you just got to be responsible and aware of the payment terms. Other thing you want to be aware of is touch-ups. All right, when you're working around other trades, you're doing new construction, doing remodel, other trades are going to screw up your job. We're doing this job right now on this building. We painted the whole exterior, and then the landscapers came in and screwed up a bunch of our paint job. So how are you going to handle touch-ups? And in our case, we're bidding on them. That's a separate bid, is the touch-up work. But every contract's going to be different, so you want to consider touch-ups. Other thing you just want to be aware of is unforeseen issues. All right, there's going to be things that come up. You have a deadline to hit, and you have 2 days to hit this deadline, and you show up to do all your work for those 2 days, and another trade is in there totally in your workspace, so you can't even get your lift in there to get to the ceiling. This is an actual situation we ran into, where we needed to paint the ceiling, we needed to get our lifts in there, but when we showed up, there was so much stuff in this area that we could not get to it, and we had to deal with that. All right, so there's unforeseen issues that come up. So this is what you want to look out for when you get into commercials. It's a lot heavier on the management side. So when should you do it? One time you should do it is when you have the capital. You've got to have capital. All right, so typically you're not getting paid up front. So if we bid a job for 30 grand, usually means we're paying about $20,000 to our contractor, roughly. So what this means is if $20,000 is going to our contractor, about $5,000 is going to be towards materials, $15,000 is going to be towards the contractor. I can usually talk with our paint store and set up a credit account for this $5 grand. And then with our subcontractor, usually we can make a deal with them that says, hey, we'll pay you 10 grand right when you're done, we'll pay you the other 5 grand when we get paid. But even in this situation, that means I need to come up with $10,000 to pay for this job to get done before I get paid anything. So you got to make sure you have the capital. Not only do you need to have the capital, but you need to make sure you're willing to risk all of that capital. So if you've got 20 grand, and you're like, okay, I can do this, but if I get paid, because if I get paid right when we're done, then I get that money in, and then I can pay my rent. Like, don't be stupid like that, because things don't always go to plan. You've got to be willing to risk that capital. You have to be willing to risk all that capital to do that. You got to make sure you have a qualified crew. All right, so when we've taken on all of our projects, we always make sure that the crew that's doing the job understands the full scope of work, has done it before, and understands how to do it. You got to make sure you have a crew that's qualified to do it. Otherwise, again, you can run into some serious problems. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have a team in place. So this is like phase 2 or phase 3, but most importantly that you have time. All right, so commercial painting should be an add-on to your business, not a replacement. All right, so if in order to do this job, you would need to put all your time and focus on it, and that means you can't keep doing residential exteriors, which is currently making all your money, don't do it. Don't sacrifice what's working for a possible other thing that you don't know if it will work yet. And that's why I usually recommend, hey, just say no to stuff. Like, it's powerful to just say no to stuff until you're ready. Look, we have the team to go and attack commercial painting, and we're still saying no. So we're like, look, let's just get this thing up to 3 or 4 million in the residential exterior, so we're making 700 or 800 grand a year, and then we've got a ton of capital to go and add 2 million to commercial painting in our first year, really attacking it. So don't be crazy. Make sure it's an add-on, not a replacement. So once you have a team in place, or you have an extra 20 hours a week that you can dedicate to this project, you just need to make sure that you have someone who can really dedicate themselves to the commercial project. So that's what you should look out for. That's when you should be ready to do it. Next couple of videos we'll talk about how you can come up with your pricing and estimating for it, and we're also going to talk about sales and production. Now, one other thing I'm going to say is this course, this Painting Business Pro Starter course, is not designed to teach people how to go and start a commercial painting business. You can use everything in this course to go into commercial painting by following the fundamental principles and the understandings of how to do that. Everything that's in this course you could use to develop your commercial direction. But in this section, I'm not going to go into tremendous details on commercial and new construction painting, because we haven't gone into tremendous details on it. I'm sharing with you basically how we take advantage of commercial painting opportunities that come to us, but we have not dove into that. And when we do, I'll make a whole full-blown commercial painting course for that. But this is going to be enough to kind of get you by and give you the opportunity to capitalize on some of those commercial painting opportunities that will come to you once you get into this whole business. So we'll get into estimating, sales, and production.